Welcome, everybody. My name is Joe Ulam with Brown Harris Stevens. Excited to be here. The show is called Becoming Brokerage. It's a show about real estate professionals who have had fascinating, very successful previous careers, who then made the transition into becoming real estate brokers. The journey they traveled, their personal story, and I hope you like it. We'll be back with our first guest, who's terrific, in just a moment.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
Welcome back, and I am delighted to introduce my first guest, Haviland Morris, who is not only a very good friend, but a collaborator on several listings, star of stage and screen. Welcome, Haviland.
That might be stretching it, but thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your past career.
Well, so from my graduated from high school, college, I went right into acting, and I was lucky enough to do about 25 years. I solely did that, various movies and TV shows and theater and commercials and voiceovers and pretty much anything that you could do as an actor except musicals, in which I had no talent. And so that's what I did prior to this. Yeah.
So you're being a little modest because you haven't mentioned some of the kind of high profile.
Oh, you'd like me to do
jobs.
resume
Yeah,
citing?
let's hear a little bit about some of the highlights.
It's certainly the movie that's best known that I was in is a movie called 16 Candles, which came out in the 80s.
Iconic.
Well, it did turn into kind of a funny cult film, didn't it? It wasn't so huge when it came out. But anyway, that was, needless to say, great fun. And I, believe it or not, still get letters about that, 40 years later, asking, questions about it and, autograph asking and things like that, which is, fun. I also did a movie with Madonna called Who's That Girl? And let's see, Gremlins 2 and Home Alone 3. Those are sort of the big studio movies. I've did a lot of Law and Order episodes. It was never a series regular, but
Okay, so we can look for you.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning, you can find me somewhere. Yeah, that's right.
So what was it that made you decide to transition into real estate? Is that something you always thought about, or was it?
No. Actually, I was in my 40s. I'd had 2 kids, and I was still working as an actress, but it was slowing down significantly, and it became clear that I wasn't really making a great living at it, and it wasn't really occupying, like a full-time job kind of position in my life. So it was necessary to find something else. But I had a hard time at first because I wasn't at all willing to say, like, yeah, I'm putting this aside and I'm doing a whole new career. So and it wasn't a time financially for me to go to law school or something. It didn't. So the search was on, and I worked with an organization called Actors Fund, where they in their work program to sort of find out different possibilities. And there was a panel one night with a real estate recruiter, and she talked all about it, and I thought, oh, well, that's obvious. Like I love architecture. I love New York City. I love people. I can, it all just seemed like, well, that makes sense. And so I went and got my license, and that was that. That was in 2007, I think, is when I started.
So one thing I've noticed from working together with you is that you have a very good sense, you have very good taste.
Oh, thank you.
I think. And staging seems like it's something that comes naturally to you. And I would imagine that a lot of skills that you picked up as an actress have helped with the transition to real estate.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I think the staging part, I briefly did I forgot about that part actually, because that was not one of my more successful ventures, but I did have a design firm briefly called Existential Nest. But yes, taste helps.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's, that's part of the deal. I think resilience helps most of all, right? I think being an actor, you become very accustomed to, there are a lot more, you're being turned down a lot more than you're being invited. Mm-hmm. So even regardless of how, successful you are, there's a lot of rejection.
Right.
And so because there's so much of it, then you learn not to really experience it as rejection. It's totally personal, but it's also not personal. And I think in real estate, that's a useful tool also, because the beautiful thing about working in real estate is there really is a hat for every head. Mm-hmm. So you're just not going to be everybody's hat or everybody's head. Like,
sure.
You just, so I think just sort of understanding that has been, super useful.
I would imagine being resourceful too, because real estate agents are some of the most resourceful people I know.
Yeah.
And when you're an actor, you always have to do things to prepare for roles. And I would imagine you found that it's been similar in real estate.
It's true that you do many more things as a real estate broker than you ever might have thought that you would. I mean, you're the designer, you're the psychotherapist, you're the hand holder of every kind, you're the cheerleader, you're the yesterday I was the builder of bookcases, you're the chooser of cushions, you're lots of different things, which you're choosing different things as an actor,
sure.
But again, right, what's the role today? So what are the things that I have to learn about this character? I think and also just I think really the connection,
mm-hmm.
As
the
an actor,
people,
you have to,
people.
You learn to have some degree of comfort and flexibility with everyone, and that certainly serves you well in the world, period, let's say that. But, in any career where you have to sell both your products and services and also, ideas and, yeah.
So it's interesting, the thick skin, because
yeah.
I think actors get turned down. They hear no probably more in 1 week than many people hear no in a lifetime.
I think they hear more no in 1 week than real estate brokers ever hear. I mean,
Definitely.
honestly, it's much harder to be an actor. I mean, in that regard.
Right.
And it's much easier. It's easy to have somebody say, no, I don't want you to sell my apartment, compared to, no, we don't like you. Just you just did all the wonderful best sobbing over your dead daughter that you could possibly do.
Right,
and they're like,
right.
No, we don't. No,
yeah.
We don't want that. So it in some ways, it makes this, easier.
So when you were becoming a broker, did you have did people in your previous life understand it, or did they still see you as an actor?
I think that I had less comfortability, for want of a better, I was less comfortable with that transition than people around me. I wasn't sure that I wanted the people in my acting world to know that I was being a broker, and I wasn't sure that I wanted the people that I was working with as a real estate broker to know that I was an actor. I felt like, oh, maybe they won't respect me the same way, and which was actually ridiculous. It turns out like people are thrilled that you were an actor, so interested, love to hear that. Whereas I thought, especially in the beginning, because in the beginning you really don't have all the requisite skills, and you are sort of like faking it till you make it, which is not my favorite thing to. I'm a real I'm great when I know the facts and
You're
I
very
can tell you the
prepared.
facts, but I don't like it when I don't like doing things that I'm not good at.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not real flexible about that. Some people are better at that than
But
I am.
I think you got to give yourself a little credit there because you're trying something completely new.
Yeah.
I mean, that is taking a big leap of faith. You're going from acting to real estate, and it's very one extremely competitive field to another. So it takes a lot of courage, I think.
Well, sure. Yeah, but I had a hard time. Like I didn't really want the people. So I do have some crossover clients, from the old world, but I probably have more from the dog run than I do from that, honestly. Like I just, yeah. And now I feel like, sure, yeah, send them to me. I know what I'm doing, but I was really, in the beginning, I really would rather work with strangers who didn't really know that I didn't yet quite know what I was doing. So, yeah.
Interesting. So what were some of the challenges you faced at the beginning of your real estate career?
Well, when I first started, I was not with Brown Harris Stevens. I started in a rental firm, and the expectation there was that you were there 7 days a week and that you were at your desk. It was before the advent of iPhones. It was just before iPhones came out, or actually it was just the summer that iPhones came out. And
I remember that.
And you'd run around town with like fistfuls of keys, but there was no Street Easy and so you were the gateway. Like they didn't know how to get to these buildings without you, so they needed you. But depending on how much the sales director liked you or didn't like you, the keys might or might not fit the doors.
Mm-hmm.
You could go up to that 6th floor walk up, and my office was in the Village, right in NYU territory, so we had a lot of like student studios, like up those 6th floor walk ups and down, and so yes, a lot of the challenge was just. I thought maybe this is for someone else. So it was just, keeping up really. But
Sure.
That challenge was then superseded by, then I moved to Halstead, which was, a lovely place to be. But unfortunately, my move to Halstead came 3 days before Lehman fell.
Oof.
So then my first year at Halstead was really rough. I went from being a very successful rental broker to a very not yet at all successful sales broker
Right.
because it was a very challenging environment, and I didn't know anything about selling apartments really. I had done no sales at the other firm, and Richard Grossman said to me after the first year, "Can you explain your numbers?" He hired me thinking
Put
she's
you on the
swell,
spot.
yeah, she's swell. We had and I was like, "Well, I came 3 days before Lehman fell." He said, "Well, some people did sales," and I'm like, "Well." I would argue they knew how.
Yeah.
Anyway, things got much better after that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were probably, having worked on set and in theater, it's interesting because actors, I think, are very sensitive, but they're also good at taking suggestions and feedback.
We do get directed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do get directed a lot. Yeah. Well, if you were in that office, you were going to get directed. So
Sure.
it was good. I mean, he was terrific. Mostly, we're good at showing up on time, and we're good at, taking
also
direction and
just
collaborating.
Learning to be poised, I think, too, because I feel like customers in real estate can be frantic. They're running all over the place. I'm not going to have a lease starting September 1 and my job starts September 2. What am I going to do? So you really have to calm them down to some degree. And if you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, that's not going to be any comfort to them.
Yes, that's right. We do a lot of calming. A lot of it's going to be all writing.
Yeah. So how did you then set about kind of building your career as a sales agent?
Oh, good question that I won't have an answer for because
Take your time.
I've never been the model of a make your business plan girl. That's never. So I really personally have been a little bit more just the flow. It comes in and it's all my business now is referral really, and it's just people like working with me for whatever reason, and they tell their friends and family members, and that's really how it built. I was never. My weakness in both my acting career and in this career is like self-promotion and marketing. It's never been my strong suit, and so anyway, yeah. But so just trying to do a good job, honestly, every time. Try to, be candid, when it's not too painful, without, you just don't,
There's a lot of bad news you have to deliver in this business.
There is.
And a challenge for me is to call someone up and have that phone call where they weren't approved for an apartment, the buyer's co-op board turned them down.
Yeah.
You just don't want to have to make that call.
That's true. There are a number of those calls. Yeah.
You have to just tell yourself, this is my job.
Right.
If I can't do this, I can't do this job.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you deliver the good news and the bad news, which is part of the deal, right? I mean, it's one of the things that, so real estate, aside from having lots to recommend in any way, was also a job that was in and of itself dramatic and interesting and fun and so many components, right? But and also I could continue to be an actor, which I have also done, minimally over the course of this time also. But right, it's the ups and the downs. I mean, that's what keeps it's lively. I mean, you're never I think I probably have a low threshold for boredom, and it's just never boring. It's just never boring.
So we're going to take a brief break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
Hi, I'm Evan Greenberg with Langdon Title. I specialize in title insurance across New York, helping real estate attorneys, agents, and brokers close with confidence. I solve problems fast and keep your deals moving. Contact me anytime.
Hi, I'm Dylan Pachulik, CEO of XL Real Property Management, New York's most trusted name in luxury property management since 2012. We specialize in managing individual apartments, townhouses, and rental buildings held by absentee owners. We maintain our properties with the highest standards of quality and service so that owners can choose a hassle-free approach to real estate investing. Rented or owner-occupied, we handle it all. For more information, contact us at xl-rpm.com.
And welcome back to Becoming Brokerage. And as you know, my guest is Haviland Morris. So Haviland, I was kind of looking back a little bit. What is it that you would say you like the most about your job?
I think my favorite thing about my job is the huge variety of experience and people that I interact with, so that and also situations. So I really love that I meet so many different kinds of people in so many different circumstances in their lives and help them unravel such an interesting array of challenges.
Yeah.
Whether they're selling or buying, you always think like, oh, what could it be? You're selling a house. But there's always just like, it's very complicated. And so I find it much more, a much better mental chew really than I had anticipated. And I think that's my favorite thing. And also I love that I continue to be my own boss. Do you know what I mean? I love that I set my hours. If I want to go do something different, I go do something different. Or if I, need to schedule because of my husband or my children, I can schedule on my time, or I can enlist my colleagues to help me manage what needs to be managed. You get guidance from above, but you really are your own boss, and that works for me really well.
Great. And I feel like some agents are either nurturers and they help their clients kind of nurture them to help make a collaborative decision. And then there are some agents that are problem solvers. They just take charge. Here's what you have to do. Let's do it. And I think we can all do a little bit of both, but would you say you're more of a nurturer or a problem solver?
That's so interesting, because I'm definitely just a complete bossy boots by nature, but That being said, I think some of my clients would really say nurturers. Do you know what I mean? Like, but
actors are good listeners.
it so depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people need to be nurtured, and sometimes they need to be managed.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so, it depends on. I'm going to say both. My husband would laugh and say, manager. But yeah.
So you're going to love this question.
Oh.
And you can answer it any way you want to. What is the craziest experience you've had in acting? And what's the craziest experience you've had as a real estate agent? And you can define crazy in any way you want to. It can be crazy good, crazy
this could
bad.
be really another podcast altogether. But
and be uncensored here.
acting is pretty easy. This is unquestionably the craziest. So I'll try to make it short, but I'll try. So I had an audition with a lovely casting agent that I knew and read the material. It was not one where we were given the whole book. You just had your scenes. I did it on tape with her. She was lovely. I went home. A few weeks later, she called, and it had been some kind of period piece. I was an English woman. Nothing. It was nothing, really. At the end, we both looked at each other and thought, I don't know. So she called me a couple weeks later and said, well, my agent called me and said they would like to make an offer on this, but it's contingent on you being able to fly to LA tomorrow for the screen test. And I said, or for the costume fitting, I said, okay, is that for the leprosy suit? Because there was a scene in the thing where she was wearing, like, where she had leprosy and she was riding a horse. It was a whole weird. And they said yes. So I said, okay. So I fly out to LA, and I get there, and we have this lovely fitting, hundreds of costumes, beautiful Edwardian stuff. And I get to the end, and there was no leprosy suit. And I said, what about the leprosy suit or something like that? And she goes, what? And I said, when she's riding the horse and she's whatever, and she goes, I can give you a thong. And I was like, oh my God. And I just, I had a baby who was like 2 years old. I was not in like, thong days. And these were days.
So was that the leprosy suit?
There was nothing. So anyway, blah, 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 but I'd already used up their budget to fly to LA. I was like, oh my God. Plus I needed money. I had a young child. I hadn't worked. But I thought, okay, it'll be fine. It's a mini series. It's CBS. There's no nudity on CBS. We'll be fine. It'll be fine. We flew to Texas, West Texas. We're out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God.
In the end, I had to spend 2 hours in the makeup trailer for leprosy makeup, like all the way down. I was indeed riding side saddle with nothing, a hat on and some veils over here. Plus, I had a python draped, or boa constrictor, or python, can't remember, over both arms, and had to be singing opera, riding a horse into the canyons. That's the craziest, John. And then,
I don't think you'll get this in real estate.
Yeah, that was
right?
crazy. So that was crazy. And then like 6
with an
months,
English accent, right?
With an English accent.
Okay.
There were some other scenes and stuff, but that was anyway. And what they don't tell you about, okay, so it's network TV. There was, in those days, this was 100 years ago, there was no nudity on network TV and whatever. But that doesn't mean you're not naked with all the wranglers, one of whom was like Sam Shepard's unbelievably handsome son. It was just humiliating. Anyway, and then about 6 months later, I get this mystery check in the mail for, I think, $1,000 or something. And it's from the studio, and it's just entitled Lady Carrie's Birthday Suit. Evidently, I got an extra $1,000 for being naked on set or something. Anyway. That's the craziest. And then, real estate. Right real estate, there's been some pretty crazy stuff too. I think the craziest was actually, I was selling a townhouse at one point in there, and a woman made an appointment for her client. She called, and her client was, I want to not use any, whatever, but her client was someone, a diplomat, and they were looking for embassy and whatever, and so she came without her client, but she wanted me to record the whole thing. Anyway, it was a very long story, but she turned out to be a convicted felon, and the day that she was scheduled to be sentenced was the day actually she appeared at my listing, and
she wanted to make a purchase
I don't
prior
know,
to
I don't
the
know,
sentencing.
and then but also the people for whom she was buying it was like a kind of a questionable lot there, so I didn't know what to do and whatever. I talked to management. So I talked to my seller. And I was like, listen, and he was so desperate to sell that he did want me to, well, what if these really are buyers? We don't know what her situation really is. Maybe she made a deal. Maybe she's working for the government. Maybe these buyers are real. So that was crazy.
You could
and
do an arraignment
we
/
didn't-
closing,
Yeah.
right?
In the end, we did not do a deal with them, but it was a very long story where they continued to be competing against who did actually purchase, and it was hair raising.
I'll bet those are two pretty
I
good
know they
ones.
were crazy.
You know,
Yeah,
I wasn't quite
the
sure what to expect.
The day-to-day crazy is
but-
pretty good, but that was the winner. Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Okay, so final question.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how you'll feel about this one, but
Okay.
you were in a movie called 16 Candles,
I was.
as we talked about, and I'm curious what neighborhoods the following characters would choose to live in.
Now.
And I'll give you the list, and you
Okay.
can tell me.
All right.
Samantha Baker, who was played by Molly Ringwald in the movie. Jake Ryan, who was played by Michael Schofling. And the Geek, played by Anthony Michael Hall. And Caroline
That would be me.
Mulford,
Yeah,
played
yeah.
by Haviland Morris.
Yeah. It's a good question. I feel like they're all so rooted in, North Shore Chicago, frankly. But I think of all those, like, the Geek probably went to Silicon Valley, became a trillionaire. So now he probably has, a pied-à-terre and Tribeca and also something out east in the Hamptons, something
Okay.
lovely.
Do you think he's married to a former cheerleader?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I'm going to say, yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. Or maybe several marriages. I don't know. It's difficult. You know,
Yeah.
he was a pretty big go-getter. I'm going to guess that Jake Ryan is, very much in Hudson Valley or, out
In the mountains,
more
yeah.
a rural environment. Caroline, I'm sure, is, in Greenwich. And Molly Ringwald also, not Molly, but Samantha Baker. I'm going to say, like Darien, Greenwich, like that. Yeah, I wouldn't put them in New York City necessarily.
So Caroline wouldn't be in Greenwich Village?
Oh, I don't think so. I think she's settled down, I'm sure, but she has, I think, the suburban life well, under her management.
Okay.
That's my guess. I don't really know.
Kind of seeing a sequel here.
Yeah,
These,
no.
characters. Well, thank you so much, Haviland.
Thank you.
This has been great just to hear more about your career
Thank you.
and about you personally, and I really appreciate having you on here.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a
My
good one.
pleasure. So next time, we're going to continue with the Hollywood theme, and our guest will be a superstar broker, former talent agent in Hollywood by the name of Mike Lubin. So you don't want to miss that one. The show is called Becoming Brokerage, and we look forward to seeing you next time.